Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Hager number 1447 in a US5 finish. This is a ball catch is what it is. The packaging says ABA, that's also code for Hager, Hager code for US5. ABA antique brass anodized, antique bronze anodized it might mean. But this is a fairly decent representation of antique brass. Antique brass, to get a perfect representation, would require that the base material be bronze, of course, and this is just steel, but nonetheless quite typical. So it's a ball catch. You can see why they call it that. And this is something that's going to be generally installed in the top rail of a pair or a single a pair of doors in the top rail, or maybe a single door on the lock edge, and is just used to keep the door in a closed position. Whether you have a pair of doors on a suite in a hotel with dummy trim on both sides, or in a residential application where you have a linen closet on the bedroom floor of a home, ball catch is very typical there. You're going to use it in those installations. Maybe a thicker piece of cabinetry that you built could easily use a ball catch. This is adjustable. There is a spring down there that you can see, and of course that ball is spring loaded. There are two notches that you see there, and you can insert a nail and be able to, or ideally a spanner wrench not included, and rotate the item in or out to directly control the amount of projection, therefore directly control the amount of force it takes to close and unseat the ball from the strike. Okay, let's get some dimensions. And by the way, screws are included in a complementary finish. Let's go with the strike first. So this is going to be a 2 1/4 tall strike. The overall width, about an inch and 3/8 or so. The center line of the screw hole to the edge of the lip is about 7/8, and that's very typical and common for an 1 3/8 door. You're going to want to be sure that your center line of your ball and your center line of the screws are all the same, and you'll be able to easily determine what that is when you are installing this. Very likely you are removing or replacing a failed unit, and they do break with enough time, and people have asked me, how do you go about getting it out of there? They're really not meant to come out because of this sleeve that's here with these perforations that allow it to be held in the door, and that's just on there. It's pressure fit on there, and while it's true I could make that come off, they're not meant to come off. So it might be a bit of a challenge to get that out of there. But the truth of the matter is, if you were to probably unthread that to the point where it actually came out, you'd probably be able to get something in there and with care and pull that out should you need to. Okay. The diameter of the face of this item, just heavy on 1 inch, 1 1/16 or so. There is a link below this video to the installation instructions, and those are very handy because it gives you very detailed installation instructions, specifically what hole size to drill, where to place the strike. The center line is the Y dimension that you see there, and you'll want that to be symmetrical with the location of the ball. The diameter of the hole that you're drilling, if you're doing a new installation, is going to be 15/16. You're going to want to drill a nice clean hole. When I have installed these, I will place a piece of wood over this, and then I will, with a mallet, gently tap it down. That's how I go about doing that. Mortising for this, obviously, is required, even though that's quite thin. They call the thickness of the material 0.0625. They call it a 1/16 of an inch. But you'll need to mortise that to get that to work. Okay. So really the important part about doing a new installation are the notes on that link to the installation instructions. Dimension Y equals 1/2 the door thickness plus 1/8 of an inch. So they're assuming that you are going to be installing the ball catch in the center of the door, and then between the face of the stop and the vertical center line of the screws is going to be you know, let's just assume 1 3/8. That would be most common. So 1.375 divided by 2 plus 0.125 for 1/8 of an inch. And you're going to be at 13/16. Face of the stop to the vertical center line. And then, of course, your center line in the X axis would be, of course, the same. Center line of this is the center line of this. So that's how you go about doing it. This has a 1/4 inch radius, so you're not going to need to square the corners out, assuming that you're doing a new installation, etc. The Hager 1447 is available in a variety of finishes. Antique bronze, the 10R finish, which is a matte lacquer antique bronze, satin nickel, antique nickel, polished chrome, satin chrome, polished brass, satin brass, antique brass, which is this one. And that's it. 9 finishes. That's a lot of finishes. The name Hager is synonymous with all things trim and auxiliary hardware related, not only something residential like this, but door stops and kick plates, push and pull hardware, but that just scratches the surface for Hager. Whether it be trim and auxiliary, weather stripping, sliding door like track and hangers, lock sets, exit devices, door closers, signage, hardware like filler plates for use in steel and wood steel doors and steel frames, Roton aluminum continuous geared hinges. But it's their namesake, Hager hinge, that they're most notorious for. Everything as it pertains to commercial, institutional, residential hinges is everything that Hager does. They have been in business, I understand, since James Knox Polk was president. So they, if you're wondering, he's number 12 maybe, 1848 or so is when Hager's been there. They do basically everything for the doorway, with the exception of the door and frame, which I wouldn't be surprised to learn that they were working on. If you have any questions on the Hager 1447 in a US5 finish, ball catch, or any other Hager product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.